What is up, guys? Doing another ICTV stealth. Or I think I started calling them Iron Man stealths in my last video or video before that, something like that. Anyway, saws only, no assets, only one stealth deployable, weapon but melee, you know, the whole shebang. So, quick little tidbit. An interesting fact I found out when you're burning yourself with the Molotovs is that your armor actually, or at least in solo mode, regens fast enough that it won't kill you if you just stand in it, or at least if you're wearing ICTV. I thought that was kind of cool. I was messaging somebody right here. So that's the reason I'm just continue standing and not moving for a minute or two. So anyway, as you can imagine, this heist was kind of a pain in the butt. Simply because, as I'm sure you can imagine, this is not one of the more well-designed stealth heists. I still find it to be a fun one. It can just be kind of a nuisance if things don't go just right. But I got pretty fortunate in this run. This is one I've attempted several different times before.
Okay, we got it secured.
I gave it quite a few serious attempts, but usually I wouldn't grind it out for more than 2 or 3 attempts at a time before I'd get kind of sick of it, because a lot of times the runs just wouldn't get anywhere. I'd get into the lumberyard, and I'd start to get it cleared out, and then something would go wrong, and I'd have to restart. Or I'd spawn on the other side of the map, close to the boat, and trying to get up onto the train station, all that stuff from that side, although definitely not impossible, is kind of a headache, and it was just really aggravating. So a lot of times, I don't know, my success rate for getting from that side of the train car, or to the train, was probably about 50%, if not lower, on that side. And it just took so much longer to actually get the heist started, just to maybe have it go wrong again once I was already over here. So it got to the point where I would just, if I got the boat side, I would just automatically restart, just not wanting to deal with having to move all the way over here. Definitely doable, just a pain in the butt. I felt like being lazy and just getting this spawn. But regardless, for this particular run, I got the lumberyard spawn, which is the fastest and most optimal, quote-unquote, in my opinion. So in this first section, I'm going to clear out the lumberyard, you know, get all the civilians tied as they come through, get the 3 guards that are over here, just so I have some freedom of movement throughout this little area. It just makes moving bags and stuff a lot easier. Of course, there's no guarantee, there's no way to know what escape you're going to get at the beginning of the heist. You just have to wait and see which one you get. You could get the boat, or you could get the truck. The odds of getting the boat are lower than getting the truck, if I'm not mistaken. However, it still definitely is a possibility to get the boat, and that's something you have to, you know, kind of be conscientious of. I've tried, every time I try to say that word, I blow it to smithereens. Anyway, I try to remain wary of the fact that I could possibly get the boat, but it's still more worthwhile to clear out the lumberyard than to not. So, just waiting for these guards to kind of position themselves in the best way possible so that I can go ahead and take them out. Of course, I'm only working with 2 body bags since I brung ECM jammers instead of body bags on this particular heist. Reason being, of course, was so I could open up the train cars. Yes, I do have the silent saw, but waiting for guards to position themselves outside of the silent saw detection range, as well as being in the ICTV armor, there's a lot of factors working against me when I'm trying to use the silent saws. So I just try to speed the process up by bringing the ECM jammers, and of course the keycard that you can get off of the civilian who has one of the orange hard hats. I believe there's like 4 or 5 civilians on this map. 2 of them have orange hard hats, and one of the ones with the orange hard hat has the keycard. And it could be either one of the 2. It's never a specific one.
Watch out, guard.
So, of course, another kind of infamous thing about this heist is the fact that you have to secure all 21 bags, or 21 bags, it's actually 23 bags, my bad. The 3 bags of the turret parts and then the 20 bags of ammunition, which, you know, securing even half of that isn't that bad. Securing the turret parts in one set of the 10 ammunition bags really isn't that bad, but depending on
Careful.
where those
There's a
bags
guard.
spawn, you might have to send 20 ammo bags across the zip line, or you might have to send
Down on the
3
ground.
turret parts across the zip line. Obviously, one's going to be more preferable than the other, and we'll see what spawns we get here in a little bit. I was checking to see if this guy was going to see the sieve. I didn't want to move the sieve the long way. Thankfully, I didn't get detected by that guy as he was walking by,
Those rail cars are locked down.
and just decided to
Guards
go ahead and
help
cap
with
the
that.
sieve because I was worried the run was going to get scrapped if I didn't do that, which ultimately ended up being the best choice. So
It's okay, Control. Everything is cool.
I did have
No
to
Cuban
waste
criminals in
a
the
body
area.
bag though, which wasn't a
Only
big deal
American criminals with no
because
balls.
otherwise I just would have
No
used it on
ID,
one of these
no
guards. Of course, I wanted to save one body bag for the one page that I had left, so that I could, just in case I got caught by a guard at some point in the
Okay,
heist,
we got it secured.
so that I, kind of had my emergency oh crap button.
Look out.
Guards up there
Guard.
kind of give me a bit of a hard time if I'm not careful just running around through the lumberyard.
Get down. Down on the fucking ground.
So of course now we're actually checking for where the vaults are. Of course, there's only one vault in each, like, 2 segments of the train, so if it's not in one, then you have to check the other. And if, so if I checked car number 3 and a vault was in there, I don't have to check car number 4, I can go to checking the next set of 2 parts.
Okay, we're into the rail car. Use the camera
I was
to see
using
what's
Sixth
inside.
Sense to
Guard.
see if there were any guards within the range to hear my silent saw. If guards are within range of Sixth Sense, then they'll be
Look
within
out.
range to hear
Guard.
the silent saw. Otherwise, you're perfectly fine. So if nobody gets picked up by that skill, then you're free to saw away without anybody hearing. Of course, you do have to check below you because there are guards that run underneath the train, and you also have to check above you for the guards that walk on the walkway on top.
Blocked me. I need you to
I do have to be
disconnect the
careful,
security buffer.
as you see that guard went a little bit past the stairs but didn't come through. No other guards will come all the way down that walkway. They'll just go to that point where the guard was standing, a little bit past the stairs. But I still have to be careful because obviously I have 75 detection, so they're going to notice me a little bit easier than, well, if I had 3 detection, clearly. So I still have to be careful and position myself. I need to also be careful of guards that walk up on the walkway because if I'm lackadaisical in where I'm standing, they can spot me from up there. So there's definitely a lot of waiting in this heist, sadly, simply just due to the nature of how the objectives work. You only have one hard drive that you get to work with at a time, so you have to hack each one individually. And then, of course, you have to work with the security buffers, which can be kind of hard to
Disconnected manually.
maneuver around and get to, considering that, especially since I'm in ICTV and I've got 75 detection, the whole shebang, I have to be very careful about when I choose to move to the security buffers, particularly the ones on the other end of the map. Clearly the 2 that are on my end of the map, like the lumberyard and the one on the adjacent side of the train, they aren't that big of a deal to get to. They're very quick, very easy. You don't have to really worry too heavily about guards going to them if you've got those areas clear. Or at least not the one by the lumberyard. The one on the other side of the train, on the lumberyard end, it's still pretty easy to get to, and you don't have to worry about it too much. However, the 2 most difficult ones, clearly, are going to be the ones on the other end of the train. The one that is currently active, and then the one on the other side of it, which is probably the worst one, if you ask me. That's the one that's currently active being the second worst. Since these 2 civs came over here, I just decided to go ahead and
Get the fuck
get
down.
them tied down before
Get
they saw
down.
any dead bodies or dominated cops around.
Come on. Little birdie's home.
Just moving him a little over to the left so that nobody on the top of the walkway will see him.
Down on the fucking ground.
And we'll do the same
Down.
with this civ as well, just to get him in a good position.
Follow me.
I'm going to go ahead and open this door, of course. So I have a bit of an easier path to walk through and can avoid the guards that are on top of the walkway, because once you're... I mean, standing, the guards on the catwalk are still going to see you. But if you're crouched, walking through that area and through that doorway, none of the guards will actually be able to see you. I was going to poke around on that side of the train so I could look and see how many guards were on the left-hand side, so I could kind of get a gauge for if anybody was going to loop around the end of the train quite yet or not. But that guard was right there, so I didn't get to look and see. I was able to see these two guards, though. So I had to wait for the one down there to go somewhere before I could even attempt to run down there. And of course, worst case scenario, I run down there and then someone loops around the end of the train and then I get detected. So what you'll see me do in a minute is I'll start opening up the train cars, so I have cars to duck into in the case that a guard loops around the end of the train while I'm down there, because not having any sort of escape option or anywhere to hide down there would be awful. It says I use my ECM jammers down here and hold on to the key card in case I need to very hurriedly get inside a train car. Of course, I have to check the next train car because that one was empty. Kind of like what I was talking about a minute ago. So I definitely know the vault's going to be in this one.
We can sell those shells if you can carry them out, but focus on the turret.
So here I just decided to skip that second to last train car and just decided to jump in this one, which turned out had a vault anyway. However, I did check the very first camera set for the first thing I was hacking, and that was the turret. So these other two vaults obviously hold the ammo. So I do have ammo bags, or munition bags, all the way at the end of the train, which I'm going to have to move 10 of them across the zip line, which isn't that big of a deal. It's just kind of a bummer. I would have much rather it have been the turret that I move across the zip line, clearly, because there's only 3 bags to move as opposed to the 20, but it's still not that bad. Using Sixth Sense and checking underneath the train to see where you can see the guards' feet underneath the train, so you can check and see when they're going to round the train. I figured I had roughly enough time to get that picked before he came around the train. Thankfully, my minor gamble paid off, and I was able to get back to the train before he detected me. I didn't get to actually cut the wires, but, you know, just as long as I go ahead and get it opened up, the long part of that process is already finished. The only spawn I was really kind of bummed about in this run in particular, other than the, you know, turret being on the end close to the train, which is still a good spawn, I just wish that would have been munitions instead of this vault, is one of the vaults in the center, the one that is right next to the stairs. I wish it would have been, I think it was the one to the left of it, maybe it was the one to the right of it. No, I wish it would have been the car to the left of the stairs instead of the car to the right of the stairs, because it's much more dangerous to move out of the car to the left of the stairs. You'll see it once we get to that point of the video, but it's easier to move. I'm just going to call them cars 1 through 6, like I was earlier. Starting from the lumberyard all the way up to where I'm at. So where I'm at is car 6, and the one I started at was car 1. I wish that car 3 would have had the vault instead of car 4, because moving it out of car 4 is in front of the stairs, and it's much more dangerous to move from there as opposed to behind the stairs from car 3. So that gave me not really a lot of trouble, but required a bit more patience, and I had to use Sixth Sense a lot more. That was definitely the lifesaver of this run. I know most stealth builds now, well, most stealth builds always, before the once the skill came into existence, is in most skill builds, but in this heist in particular, it's just so incredibly useful to allow you to check all your corners before you just run out all willy-nilly. More so since, you know, I'm in ICTV with such high detection. Definitely don't want to just go jumping out around corners. Sadly, however, just due to the nature of this heist and due to the guard pathing, there's just a lot of waiting. And more so since, you know, you have to wait for the security buffers. I was kind of happy, though, that I went ahead and got 3 security buffers in the first hack. I can't remember the exact mechanics of what determines when you have to get security buffers. It's like every 20 seconds you get some percentage increase during a hack, or every 40 seconds, something like that. I don't remember the exact details, but it's in the long guide. Regardless, it's entirely possible to get all 4 hacks, or all 4 security buffers in one hack, or you could get none of them until the last hack, although that's pretty unlikely. But that's just the nature of how this heist works. I actually wished I would have got the other one on that end, since I was already all the way up there, and then I would have had this one last. But it's fine. It's just kind of a bit tedious to move up and down the length of the length of the catwalk in front of the train, just due to guard pathing. This guard tried to make me think that he was going to go down there, but no, he automatically turned around and started walking back up, so I had to come back up here just to be on the safe side. Thankfully, if I wouldn't have, I probably would have had to burn a pager right here, which would have been unfortunate, because I want to save it for in cases where I get detected and I don't feel like I could have done anything to prevent it. However, this was definitely a preventative case, and I did prevent it, which was pretty handy. I still wasn't happy about it, though. So, as you can probably imagine, this run took a long time. If you notice the length of the video, this is about, looking at the bottom part of my screen, it looks like it's like 35 and a half, maybe 36 minutes. I can't really tell, 38 maybe. My video editor doesn't give me the exact numbers at the end, it just gives me like like 5-minute intervals, whatever, it doesn't matter. The run total time took me like an hour and 5 minutes, I think, because there was just so much waiting, especially at the end when I'm moving ammo bags onto the zip line. But like I did in my last Iron Man stealth video, which I believe was Murky Station, I'm going to speed up the end part of the bag moving process. So basically, once the rest of the stealth is done and I'm just moving bags, so like all the objectives are completed, like I said, and the only thing left to do is to move bags from point A to point B, I'll speed up the video. I mean, I guess theoretically speaking, I could cut it out, but then at the same time, that kind of defeats the purpose, because then I've only uploaded like half of my stealth run, and I never actually showed you if I completed it or not. So, I just sped it up to like 400% or something, put some more groovy music in the background. This one was definitely fitting. So, but we still got a few minutes until that happens. I think I started at when the second, when do I do it? Yeah, I think I do it whenever I finish the second hack, because that's when I really start moving bags. I go ahead and secure the turret and show all that good stuff, and I don't know why I didn't go ahead and start the second hack right now. I think I did it because I was like, oh, I actually got the truck spawn, yay! I can go ahead and move bags over there. So I just went ahead and started doing that instead of putting the hard drive down, which would have been the smart thing to do, because, you know, it would have saved me a little bit of time. Probably not much, but that's probably what would have ended up happening. Thankfully, that guard didn't spot me. That's a guy you kind of have to be careful of. And you'll notice me hang to the right-hand side of the train as I'm walking up this catwalk. I didn't want to cut across until he was already a pretty good distance away, just so I could be on the safe side. I'd already gotten this far, and this is farther than 90% of the runs I'd had for this heist up until this point. Like I said, a lot of them ended really early. And so, I'm not sure what I was doing right here. I think I might have to step away for just a second, or somebody came in and was pulling my attention away. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Somebody probably came into my room while I was recording. And I was like, dude, what are you doing? Anyway, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I probably could have started the other hack, but knowing my luck, it would have been going for about 10 seconds, and then the security buffer would have went off, so I just would have been moving turret parts without the hack really going on for more than a few seconds anyway. It might not have happened like that, but I like to imagine that's what would have happened, because that's usually how my luck ends up going in things like this. Because, you know, you have to keep in mind, whenever you're watching videos, you always see the good runs, so I was like, I don't know what you're talking about, usual. Your luck is always so good when it comes to things like this, in your loud runs, in your stealth runs, and everything like that. You just always get so lucky. And although that is true for the video you're watching, you don't get to see the really crappy attempts that go into making it. So, I mean, for certain things it takes lots of attempts, for others not so much. I didn't mean to fall down here, and I had to throw the bag down so I could actually jump up. But
It's a guard.
But yeah, I can assure you that my RNG is not as fortuitous. Fortuitous? Not fortuitous, fortuitous. I know all these words and I know how to say them until I get on the mic and then I forget how to say all of them. I'm not as lucky as it appears as I am. I think the most important thing is just to make good use of when you get good RNG, but being prepared to deal with bad RNG and bad luck and all that stuff when you're doing, you know, runs like this. Be prepared for the worst, but make the most of the best, I guess. It's a really weird, awkward way to say that, but whatever. It gets my point across. Staying crouched through here because I don't want any of those guys seeing me as I'm trying to walk across. So now at this point I finally do get the turret completely secured, which is nice.
That's 3. That's the turret recovered. The driver will be back for the ammo.
So now I just have to complete the other 2 hacks, finish the last security buffer, and then go ahead and get all the munition bags moved. Yeah, see, this was the car I didn't really like, because if a guard comes down the stairs, he'll spot you for a second or two, or for a split second before he stops. If you're unlucky, he might pause in his steps right where that little triangle is between the train and the supports for the balcony. And if that happens, if you're unlucky like that, which I was worried I might be, then you'd get detected and a guard would see you and life would be bad. So I got the buffer pretty early on in the hack. Of course I had to use 6th Sense to kind of see where guards are right around me before I decided to poke my head out. This was also kind of bad because I can't see guards on the far end, and so if I jump out and I'm not ready to get behind cover immediately, I run a pretty high risk of getting spotted if someone is just outside of my 6th Sense range as they're coming down the catwalk. So that is definitely a bit scary. Thankfully that guy had walked into my range, otherwise I just would have hopped right out, he would have seen me and would have had a bad day. But he came into my range just before I started moving, so it's pretty fortunate in that regard. He went ahead and went up the stairs pretty swiftly, though, so I was happy about that. Having a quick look around, checking to see if anybody else was around before I poked my head out. Coast seemed clear. Thankfully it was, so I went ahead and bolted down this way. But it actually wasn't clear! Ha! So, I mean, honestly, there really wasn't much I could have done about that. At least I don't personally think so. I didn't see him. There wouldn't have been a way for me to see him. If I would have creeped down the catwalk trying to be very careful of anybody in front of me, I would obviously run the risk of somebody coming up from behind me, because they do come down the stairs. Which is just a crappy part of the pathing, just because guards are very erratic on this heist. So, I did get spotted, and that was my last pager, so no more mess-ups from here on out, but that's alright. So since I just made that major blunder, instead of trying to go ahead and get that box open, I just decided to back off of it until this guy came down the catwalk or went down the stairs on that side, just whatever he chose to do.
Little birdie's home!
And I think the lumberyard side of the train to work on is definitely the better side to work on for this heist in particular. Just because you don't have another set of stairs that guards can walk up onto the lumberyard catwalk side. But there are 2 sets of stairs that they can walk up on that side, so you can it can get really messy really fast. And guards are just moving up and down, and it's just constant. Whereas on this side, they either come from the front of the train or they come down from those stairs up top.
There's a guard.
And so you only have to worry about 2 points as opposed to like 3, I think.
It's a guard.
So having to worry about less definitely makes life a bit easier. Which, I guess in that same vein, it's also very hard for guards to hide behind the electricity box, or like the little power station thing where the security buffer is on this side, and then as you're running down the catwalk, you just bump into them because you didn't see them. So, Bleh. I was pretty miffed about that when it happened. I definitely wasn't pleased. I was like, "You kidding me? That was stupid. I couldn't do anything about it. Oh my god." I'm just happy that he didn't, like, shoot, or that I managed to dominate him quickly enough that he didn't shoot or do anything stupid that would have cost my run. Because obviously I don't have any ECM jammers. I don't have any way to shoot him on reaction. I either have to melee him or dominate him. So. But with that, that is the last of security buffers, and now I just sit here and wait for this hack to finish. And so, like I said, as soon as this hack is finished, so about 1 minute and 15 seconds, I'm going to cut the commentary out for a bit, and I'm just going to leave the sped up footage with some pretty groovy music to watch me hilariously move bags around at high speeds. And so, and then, of course, I'll come back at the very, very end for my final thoughts on it for just a few seconds, and the outro of the video, all that good stuff. So, this, all in all, this heist was a doozy to do with Iron Man stealth, just because so many things had to go right. You had to be so careful, and this was a battle of attrition and a battle of patience. That was definitely the run ruiner, or would have been the run ruiner. This deep in would have just been my lack of patience, but thankfully I had a stream up on my second monitor while I was doing this, so when I got bored and I was just sitting there waiting for guards to move, I could look over and giggle and laugh at the stream that was going on. That's how bad this heist gets at certain points, of me just sitting there for minutes on end. It's absolutely terrible. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and speed up this next part of the video, and I'll catch you guys in just a bit. So that was Train Heist Iron Man Stealth. It's definitely a doozy. I'm glad it's over. And as usual, thank you guys so much for watching.